Hi everyone. I got a new. It's actually not new. I've had it for ages, but I've decided on a different setup today. I have like a clamp on my desk with like a Gorilla Pod extension for my phone, and it seems to be pretty good. But I've tried this a couple of times, and the phone keeps wobbling. So we'll give it a shot and see how it goes. Today, I wanted to speak about surveillance observation in these days when it comes to photography. So I was in the library this week and I was looking at the book Love on the Left Bank by Ed van der Elsken, I think. And it's just a beautiful book. It it was just fantastic. I think the photos are classic 1950s, and some of the stories that are within the book are really interesting as well. And I one of the narratives, I think I mentioned at the beginning of the book that the stories are made up, or not that they're made up, but the names are changed. I can't remember exactly, but there was, when I was looking at the series of photographs, there was a few of this woman who found out that her partner, I think, was cheating on her, or there was a cases of infidelity or something like that, and she was going mad. Like, and I'll try to get a couple of sample images up on the screen, but it really made me think about how people behave in front of cameras. She was so passionate, and it was just pure emotion and raw energy that was coming through these images because of whatever the story was, or, if someone cheated on her or whatever that looks like. But it made me think about the way that people behave in front of cameras, um, in comparison to then versus now. So, like, I do think that back then it was very different. I think I think nowadays people are obsessed with how they look and how they're perceived, and everyone has a phone, and because there's so much access to information, you can Google anyone's name and anything can come up. People are terrified and paranoid of that because essentially their privacy has been taken from them in the age that we're living in. But in the 1950s, if someone had a camera, it would be a case of, oh, they're a photographer, or oh, they're my friend with their camera and they're taking photos. It was a hobby, or they were a professional photographer and that was it. And they would get their photos developed and they'd get them printed, and maybe they send them to friends, or maybe they would put it in a book if they were a professional photographer. But there wasn't that kind of fear of, oh, they've got a camera, I'm going to be plastered online everywhere, because obviously online didn't exist. But the privacy element of it, I think, has completely changed. And so when I'm thinking about the series of this woman, um, would she have acted differently if she was in today's day and age? So if she found out that her partner was cheating on her and it was in the age of iPhones, would she have acted like that? Or would there be something in her head that says, like, very quickly, okay, you can be upset, but you can't cause a scene. If you cause a scene, people are going to start documenting you and filming you, and then maybe it'll stop you from like getting a job or something like that, or it'll affect your reputation because it'll go online. I think that people genuinely have these thoughts, and we have seen this happen to people. I think that the first case that I remember of it was like years ago, when there was like, I think it was Bebo, or it was just the beginning of Facebook. And there was a place called Ray's Pizza in Dublin City, in Temple Bar, and it was class for after a night out. It was like pizza, chips, and a drink for like €5 or something, which is like, that wouldn't happen nowadays. But there was a girl, I think her dad worked at KPMG or some large corporate firm, and she was, I don't know, she's being a bit of a dick, like, and I think she was drunk. She was, I don't know, she was spouting shit at some people, and she was saying, "Oh, my dad is some of the KPMG and blah blah blah." And I correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember this. I don't remember if this is the case or not. But from what I heard, I think the guy who worked, her dad who worked at KPMG, got let go, because the video went viral. And I don't know who that girl is, and I don't particularly care. I think we all make mistakes when we're young and drunk, and that's fine. But people, I think, have this fear of going viral online, and it's not in a good way. And I just think that if it was in the 50s, there'd be none of that because we don't have it online. And it really makes me then think about how the photographs that we take nowadays, is it really people's authentic self? Are we actually documenting people's true selves? Because maybe they have that fear because we're in the age of surveillance and Big Brother and going viral and all that kind of thing. I think naturally people want to present their best selves. Um, and I think that's in every scenario, not just in today's society. I think that we always want to put our best foot forward for everything that we do. It's just interesting the way that how this is escalated from in the age of iPhones, how it is escalated to, okay, I now have control of everyone. If everyone has a camera, they now have control over their image and how they want to be perceived and represented in the world. And because of that, I think people de-escalate their feelings in public, and I don't think that they're being their true selves. So when we do street photography, when we go out and document, most of the time, I don't think it's an accurate representation of what they are feeling, which, in my opinion, is very difficult because as photographers, we want to capture the truth. For me, anyway, I think it's important that we capture the truth. And I also think that, like, when sometimes you're taking a photograph and there's different techniques that you can do on the street, and one of them is, you look directly, if you're taking a photo of someone, put the camera down and make eye contact with the horizon or something behind it, so it makes it look like you're not taking a photo of them. So cheeky, but it works well. But I hate it when you're taking a photograph of someone and they look at you straight in the eye. Sometimes it works. Like, sometimes it looks amazing and it turns out to be a great photograph. But as photographers, I think we want to be flies on the wall. We want to be able to document people as they are, and people completely change when the camera appears in front of them. And this is the difference, is that, like, when you're walking down the street and you see someone with a camera, well, we don't as photographers, but if others see us with a camera, they're instantly going to be like, okay, defense mechanism up. This is what I've encountered anyway. But what people don't realize is that they are probably in hundreds, if not thousands, of people's camera rolls from people taking photographs in the streets of tourist attractions or other things, that, like, even friends in the background, or like in the background of friends' photos on nights out and stuff like that. Like, your image is everywhere in the age of the internet. It just would make sense. And it's so sad to think, because as photographers, I think we naturally want to see the best in people. We always want to, well, majority of people. I was about to say Bruce Gilden, but, like, I don't know. He seems to capture an interesting side of people, but that's a conversation for a different day. And he probably sees the best in people too. But I think if we see something, we want to capture a moment. We want to capture the way someone's dress moves, or the way someone's smiling, or the way someone's interacting, because that's who they are. And it's shit, because sometimes when you then lift the camera to your eye, to your head, people completely just freeze up. And like 9 times out of 10, it's the photographer that wants to portray the real you, not the you that you're going to put on Instagram. And And there is such a difference. But that's where I think people's paranoia comes from, because everyone has access to these phones nowadays. So they have control of what photographs go out there with their own phone. Of course, not the other ones that you'd see in the public and street like that. But I think that, yeah, like you see it all the time. People are going out and they're like, "Oh, will you take my photo?" Absolutely, take the photo on the phone. They will then go in and edit it. They will go do what they want to do, and they will share it to showcase the best selves. They're like this self they want to portray online or portray with friends and family, like, "Oh, I'm this kind of person," or, "Oh, my hair looks blonder here," or, and for some extreme cases, "Oh, like I look younger because I face tune my face." Whereas a stranger comes up with a big camera in their face and captures them, they have zero control of where that image is going. They have zero control of what they look like. Especially if it's film camera. Um, of course, there's editing after and post production, but if you're to have a conversation, then they might say, "Oh, can I see it?" Or can I, you know, can you delete it? You can't. It's film. And that's a special thing about film. But I think that like people are people have this bad attitude towards photographers, and it's sad because I feel like there's a cognitive dissonance of like how we see a person and then how that person actually wants to be portrayed. I think people are really afraid of that because it's almost like they see not just the camera as a threat of, you know, changing their identity of how they're going to look, but also that the photographer is a threat because the photographer holds the power in that situation to make you look a certain way. So I can understand why some people might feel a little bit hard done by or a little bit afraid or have that fear in them about photographers and not having that control over their image, especially in this era of like social media. And it just makes me think that like if we're not documenting the authenticity of people because they're afraid of this camera and they're afraid of Big Brother and their privacy and this whole idea of like potentially going viral over something or looking shit in an image that goes online, um, if we're not actually documenting their authentic self, um, are we documenting history accurately? I think that's another question that probably needs to be teased out a little bit further. But um, we are documenting history accurately because we are in the iPhone age, and this is how people act in this age. However, I don't think people are so afraid of being seen these days, and they're so afraid of being perceived that I don't think that they're presenting themselves in their true light when they leave the house. I think a lot of people are really, really scared. And because of that, I'm like, if that's the case, if they actually can't be themselves because of this fear or this paranoia that they're constantly being watched, and say in comparison to the 50s, then when we go and photograph them, how is that documenting history accurately? So I don't know, maybe it's a bit far reaching on that, but I think that there's something in that question that would need to be teased out further. Like, I just don't think that, of course, there is the iPhones, and the iPhones have a big part to play, but because of that, we are documenting history accurately, but I just don't think we're documenting people and their true selves to the full extent that they could be documented. I think photographers have always experienced this kind of backlash or like this fear from people, especially when you're taking out a camera. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's getting worse. I think it's getting a lot worse. I remember when I was doing Rise of the Streets, the zine in 2021, and I'd go around town and I'd have flash and I'd photograph people with flash with this small Fuji that I have, this compact camera. And I love that compact camera because everyone, first of all, responds to it so well because it looks like a toy camera. It's really fun, really playful, really small, um, easy to take everywhere. But photographing people with flash isn't, and speaking of Bruce Gilden, it is intense experience, and it's a really controversial stance because there's some people who don't give a shit. People are like, oh cool, like what was that? Or people are like, oh my god, like paparazzi, like. But then there's other people, and I've had men, like fully grown men, square up to me, as a woman who's like 5'5", square up to me and try to start a fight because I've taken their photo. Now, of course, I always respond with, listen, like, I'm just working as a photographer. I think you look great, blah, 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 whatever. But a lot of the times it didn't work. And I noticed that a lot, even when I'm out photographing in the day, I'm getting a lot of, not backlash, but a lot of people being like hesitant around taking the photos. So I wish I was a fly on the wall. It sounds super voyeuristic. One of those like invisible Harry Potter cloaks to like to just get out, photograph what I want to photograph, and not be seen. So yeah, that's really what I wanted to talk about today. But I would be keen to hear of others' opinions on this, and if they think that photographing people throughout the years has changed because we are in the era of surveillance and iPhones and cameras being everywhere. Um, yeah, and if you like this content, I'm not going to be the person that says, oh, like, share, subscribe, but absolutely maybe share it to like one of your photographer friends who you've had a conversation with this before about. Let me know your opinions in the comments because it would be great to hear other perspectives on it. Okay, see you later.